Hello and welcome to At the Redline podcast. I'm Alec. This is Shawn. Shawn's from Reclaim Project, and also you go by another name, Provita something.
The Reclaim Project is a collaboration of businesses, so we have a few different names.
Nice,
So,
nice. Okay, well, I've known you for 5, 6, 10 years, something like that.
6 came to mind, yeah.
Yeah, and we met each other on a project that we did the electrical, Alpha Electric, go Mike Carney.
Yep.
And it was your deal, right? I mean,
Revival General Contracting.
Okay, cool. So, before we get started on your story, tell us where you're from, family of origin, that kind of junk.
Sure. I grew up here in Spokane. I left when I was 18. I ended up going and playing football for the University of Idaho.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Short-lived. It's a big part of my story. And then I spent some time in the Marine Corps, and then I was traveling all over in my 20s and 30s, and I was in and out of Spokane the whole time. I finally landed back here in 2014, and that's when I launched my career into trying to help people.
Nice. So I love to hear people's story, how they came to Jesus. What was a seminal moment where you decided, okay, for the rest of my life, I need a Lord better than me.
Oh yeah. So I grew up in the church.
Okay.
So from day one, we actually went to the church a ton. Yeah. And it was interesting. It never really, it didn't appeal to me much. And I was just doing it because that's what family did. And and the church actually, we went to a church and it actually caused harm in our family. Yeah. So when I was headed off to be an adult, the last thing I was going to be was a part of any of that. And then my life, quickly spiraled out of control into addiction. And I really had the moment of surrender, and that I'm not in control, and that I need help, and that there is definitely something greater than me. When inside of my addiction, I actually stayed in my addiction for a while after that, but it was really it started as a surrender that that my way wasn't working. And then, and really a knowing that I had been taken care of, and that I had been loved, and that that there had been something not of this world that was like holding me and cradling me. And then I just fell into all the teachings that I grew up into.
Oh my gosh, I have so many questions.
Yeah.
As a spiritual director, which is one of the parts of my aspects of my business, is coaching, spiritual direction. I love the language you're using. So many people can't talk in those language. They think theologically about we're created and Jesus died and we're sin. But you're talking in a sort of a deeper language of love and connection and relationship that's just really sweet.
Well, it's, I'm blessed to discover it through some real trials and tribulations. And it's a connection. I run a not overtly faith-based organization.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We just don't have it on the doors, right? We don't have it on, like, people don't, like, they don't walk in thinking it is a church. I mean, we have a chaplain, there's Bible study. We are all inclusive, of course, and most churches are. But so there's so many times where people will ask me, like, are you a Christian? Are you not a Christian? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And then I always go back. It's actually a Catholic quote, but how does it go? As Francis of Assisi's, I will preach the word of God all day, and sometimes I will use words.
Yeah.
Like, that really registered with me. Yeah. And then when you look at the life, I love the life of Jesus Christ
Yeah.
and like how in his teachings. And it's very like when you really take a deep dive into it, you know, he sat with the broken, he healed people. He
Yeah.
also lectured leaders.
Yeah.
He also like when Jesus was angry, he was angry at leadership.
Yeah.
And so it's something to emulate and to strive for, and to just, and of course I'm a human and I mess up every single day, and I'll mess up every day for the rest of my life, but it's just a walk. It's a walk, and it's a beautiful walk, and it's really the only reason I'm still here.
I was reading in the Bible this morning in Song of Solomon, which is one of my favorites all time. And there was this verse that says, I see you, my darling, rise and come away with me. And the thing that struck me was this being seen and this understanding that I'm lovely in the eyes of God. Like, he doesn't just feel an obligation to love. Like, he actually sees us, and it lights his face up. Like, he gets excited. And the idea that we are beloved of God, not just because we're created, but because we're uniquely us, and God just thinks that's awesome. It just sort of caught my mind today. Okay, moving on. Tell us about your ministry, the work that you do.
Like I said, the Reclaim Project is a collaboration of 4 businesses. I'm either the founder or co-founder of all 4. And I've coined the term men's transformational platform. So we help men transition away from addiction, homelessness, and incarceration through these 4 companies. So we have a construction company, Revival General Contracting, mostly residential construction. We do some commercial. We're getting into some commercial demo. We use that to either bridge the gap in employment or to build a career. We have our sober transitional housing, Pura Vida Sober Living. So we house right now 140 guys in individual bedrooms across town in residential homes. Pretty standard sober transitional housing. That's supported by our nonprofit arm, and really our heart and soul is our active sober community in our headquarters, where we give away life affirming activities such as yoga, CrossFit, strength training, mixed martial arts, hiking, biking, paddleboarding, and a lot more to any guy with 48 hours of sobriety. So that's the other thing about the Reclaim Project, is we're an a la carte menu. So some people just work for us. Some people work for us. They do our activities and they live in our housing. And the 4th and final piece of the puzzle is social enterprise. So we opened up the nation's first membership-based thrift store, which is really unique and fun. So everything in the whole thrift store is 50 cents. And so we are creating, there's a huge amount of thrift out there, but what that really allows us to do is create jobs, and a job other than construction. We found that when men can live with us, work with us, and participate in activities, that is the perfect trifecta to really take that long needed walk.
Wow.
We take an extremely long walk. I got guys that are now going on their 4th and 5th year of not only working with us and living with us, and they're almost all in a leadership position now, but it's pretty rare inside of the healing modalities, inside of like treatment or recovery, that you're taking that long a walk with an individual.
That is amazing. So, what do you need? Who is someone that you would want to connect with, either as a client? I don't know what you would call them, or as far as jobs, buildings, construction. I don't know. What do you need? What would if someone out there saw this video and said, "Man, I'd really like to help this guy, but I don't have a ton of cash." But
the nice thing about us is that we do so many things that almost anyone could help us within what they're either passionate about or their line of work, or even their home. So we love thrift donations, especially furniture. We resell furniture out of it's called Reclaim Furniture, and we resell it, part of our social enterprise. So there's any thrift donation there. we are still shopping for a house in the valley. We're looking for a larger, dilapidated home that we can have our construction company put back together and use it for sober transitional housing. We have a grant.
So if someone has a house out there so a lot of my network is real estate investors.
Yes.
It's one of the reasons I reached out to you not long ago is many of my clients and associations are real estate investors. They're buying and selling. Sometimes they're flipping. Sometimes they're wholesaling. You know, sometimes they get a house and want to move it real quick and just want to, you know, take 10% or whatever the number is. So if you're watching this video and you have a house out in the valley with how many rooms, like 6?
Well, with the potential of 8, you know, so if it's a 5-bedroom, but it has an unfinished basement, we can do all the egressing and all the permitting to get it up to an 8-bedroom.
What else is a good client for you?
A good client. Well, I always say, if you know someone who is transitioning out of whether it's prison, jail, the streets, treatment, and they need housing, they need support, send them to us. Send them to Reclaim Project. And we might be a good fit, we might not, but we do, we want people to know that we're here to serve the men first. And so send us your guys. At least get us one of us on the phone. There's 6 different managers who can do like interviews or walkthroughs the building. You know.
So tell me about your building, because this part is actually kind of fun for me. Where are you located?
Our Spokane headquarters. We're now 2 cities. We're Spokane Valley now, and that's mostly workforce development and social enterprise. And then we're in West Central, so we're 1804 West Broadway.
You're in the old porch building.
The porch building. We keep it the porch, and it's still named the porch too.
So the cool part of that story is our church. I pastored a church in West Central called West Central Life, and we met at the porch for 6-8 years. We were in West Central for 10, but for a while we were at the cop shop on Boone, and then when we got moved out of there, we ended up at the porch, and Dave Wilkinson is a dear friend of mine. And so we, and Emily too, we were meeting there in the building that you're now using, which is just, you know, did a little electrical and you know, helped them with some of the stuff. So it's just, for me, it's really exciting to be here with someone.
Oh, you have to see it. I have to give you a tour of it.
Yeah.
Because we've done a lot. So my original nonprofit, when I came into town, I was shutting that down to open up the Reclaim Project. And I reached out to the staff of the porch, Emily, Dave, and Craig Flynn, and said, I think Craig actually approached me with it. He's like, we have a back corner that we never use. We want to let some group use it. And I'm like, well, let me set my gym up there. And then I'll just bring guys. I remember
that. Like, I remember you being in there and storing tools and ladders and stuff. So,
well, we have then COVID hit. And then all this, and then the building, like, there was a lot of, like, just went in different directions, right?
It's so dramatically affected. All right. So, a couple more questions. What are you currently celebrating in business or ministry?
What am I celebrating? We really have some great momentum in the valley. And we're building, we have a 15,000 square foot facility there where we have the thrift store there. We also have an acre out back. We're basically building this robust retail center that is going to create a lot of jobs for guys. And so I'm all about the journey. So that is my celebration, like getting this thing off of the ground, seeing its potential. Had a great meeting yesterday. We are going to demo buildings and turn around and reclaim the building material and then sell it. I mean, if you remember Brown Building Supply, I was so sad when they shut down in town.
The gate. Remember you walked through the gate?
Yeah, it was
That's
fantastic.
From Brown Building Supply. 25 years ago, we bought that metal gate, dunked it home.
I built a bar downtown. It's funny, I was in sobriety building a bar, but I built a bar downtown and used a ton of stuff from Brown Building Supply
We'd go
to
there
give
all
it all the
time.
rustic look.
Sometimes
and
we'd go down just for fun, just to, kill an afternoon.
Oh, you're gonna love this place. You're gonna love so our back acre. We already do wood reclamation, which is a fancy way of saying we process and split firewood and sell it. So if you need a cord of firewood, reach out to us. And then we tore down a house in Liberty Lake, and we got probably 50 2 by 12s out of it. And so I learned a new word yesterday in a meeting. It's green collar. So you have blue collar workers, white collar workers, and then green collar is people who are like trying to repurpose or have these.
Nice.
So it's like, I never heard that before. I was like, oh, it makes sense.
That's your job.
And we're in one of the ways to teach someone how to build is to have them do demo. Because as you deconstruct something, you start to understand the construction.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. I always ask this question. Who would you most like to thank and why?
I think I always say I stand on the shoulder of giants.
Yeah, it's true.
And because, life is just my life. I've been so blessed to have the right people at the right time. So, sports were my initial drug of choice. That's what allowed me to escape. But it was also fundamental in just my development as a person, my resiliency. It's one of the reasons I'm here today is I actually was able to take like sports training and apply it in a recovery setting. Like I can grow, I can get better, I can strengthen myself, and using that. So first of all the people that have like supported me over these years to get me where I'm at today. But when you look at my life, looking back, my mom, we had 2 stray kids in our house. There was 7 of us. So there was like 9 kids running around. She sewed all my clothes. There was always a hot meal. We didn't have much resources, but there was a hot meal 3 times a day, and she was very resourceful. She drugged me to thrift stores, and my dad was a hydraulics mechanic who remodeled all of our houses. So I am just a blend of those two. So like my big shout out and thank you to my parents for not a perfect environment at all, but also just like the right tools and the right in what I could emulate. And then my mom, her walk with faith during very difficult things in her life, also like, she never strayed away from God. Yeah. And so those two. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You've already talked about what you're looking forward to, so I won't ask you that question, but one of the things that I like to ask my guests is about burnout, overload, and busyness. One of the things that I experienced during church work was just this constant state of burnout and overload. Named my company, coaching the Redline around the idea that many of us in leadership, especially the top tier leadership, sometimes operate at such high levels that we end up burning out, not in the clinical sense necessarily, like we're not balled up in a closet sucking our thumb, but you know what I mean? Just really overload. How have you experienced that? And what has been your way of finding your way out of that sort of state? And maybe you've never experienced it. Some are wiser than others.
Well, no, life kind of has a way of piling on all at the same time. So you're like, oh, I'm going through this, and now this hits. Yeah. So I've definitely been burnt out and fatigued. And yes, I have definitely like felt that pressure. I often, one of the, I do a worksheet now. I do my some coaching. And I tell guys, find your 6 titles, the 6 titles of who you are, right? So 3 of mine just right off the top is, it's like leader, I'm a father, and I create things. Like those are 3 of my 6 titles. I try not to do anything outside of that, right? And so what that allows me to do is really focus in on who Shawn is, the truest, greatest, most authentic version of myself. And then if I'm doing things outside of that and I can shed them, I will. So I'll be like, no, that doesn't fall into the greatest version of Shawn. And then also I have got much, much better at saying no. So like, and then also being like saying, I need help. Like, how can I delegate, or could you possibly take this responsibility away from me because I'm just drowning in like work, or I'm drowning in this. And then sometimes you just have to be like, I can't do it. I can't get to it. Yeah. I need to take time out for myself. I have a 6-year-old boy, and he is like, and I'm an introvert. So I go by myself. So I go into solace or by myself, and that's how I recharge. Yeah. But I recharge right alongside of him, and that's the perfect setting for me. It's just like me and him get away, or just spending time with me. It just like recharges me.
Nice. I would love to hear more about the 6 titles of Shawn.
Oh yeah, I'll send you the worksheet.
That would be a great podcast all by itself. Like that would be unbelievable. But we're moving on. I just realized I'm at the end of my list. So, and I've tried to ask this question several times. And your answer is always anyone. Like anybody can help me. But if
to pin one down,
to say, you know, like I was for a while there, you must have done lawn care. And what is someone that could reach out to you and support your ministry that would be pretty easy, value add kind of thing? And then maybe one where it's really a bigger ask, maybe a building, or maybe a guy. I mean, just you're parting, you know, what can someone do to help? And ask for money if you want to.
I got the ask. I got the ask.
Okay.
I want people to look into our thrift store. It is unbelievably unique, and I call it a deflation mechanism for families because it's 50 cents. But our entry is $150 for a 12-month annual membership. So, and that can be quite a barrier for some families who are struggling. But if you can, so my ask is that people find a family that they can go and buy a Fitty, the name of the thrift store's Fitty Club, a Fitty Club membership for, and then gift it to that family so they can receive 50-cent thrift items. And right now we have no limit on the amount of items they can get.
All right.
That's my ask. It's like, it just go, you can go to fiddyclub.com, FIDDY club.com. You can purchase a membership there. You can purchase a membership in someone's name and like either get one for your family or get one for another family. We call it a friends and family because let's say you owned a membership, the card's in your name. As long as you're there, you can bring whoever you want with you.
Oh, wow. Okay, one last thing. How would someone get a hold of you? Pastors, other ministry leaders, politicians? If they want to reach you or reach your organization, what's the best way to do that?
When I write my book, it's going to be like answer your phone. Like my like one advice for like young founders and entrepreneurs is answer your phone. Yeah. So Google Reclaim Project and call me.
Okay.
Call me, send me a text message, send me an email, but just get a hold of me directly. I like to be very accessible.
Okay. For the record, you're going to say the number and I'm going to put it here on the book.
Put it in the notes. It's 509-435-6708.
Nice.
Shawn Kingsbury, Reclaim Project, NW.org.
Nice. Thank you so much for being. I wish I had more time. I really do. There's some things you said that really make me want to talk to you.
To pull on some strings.
Yeah, but that's all for now.
All right. Thanks.